Coming up this Sunday, April 27th at 3 p.m. at the Lutheran Church of the Cross, the Winnipeg Wind Ensemble presents Town and Country, a concert that contrasts the charm of rural life with the energy of the city. The program features music of Leonard Bernstein, Aaron Copland, Respighi, and more, with many of the works specifically arranged for wind ensemble, showcasing the full power and versatility of the wind band. Founded in 1985 by band directors and professional freelance musicians, the Winnipeg Wind Ensemble is Manitoba's premier wind ensemble, dedicated to performing high-calibre repertoire for local audiences. Joining the ensemble for this performance are bassoon soloist Kathrine Huang and students from John Henderson Middle School. It's going to be a phenomenal concert, and joining me here in the Classic 107 studio to talk about the ensemble's performance is the artistic director of the Winnipeg Wind Ensemble, Jenny Hilmer. Hey, Jenny, great to have you back.
Hi, Chris. Great to see you.
Mm-hmm. So, the basis for this concert is this whole idea of town and country. Can you talk about that when you had in mind when you were picking the music? And in particular, in regards to this question that's very often asked of school children.
Yes. Well, I mean, originally I wasn't thinking about that at all. I was just thinking I wanted to play Down a Country Lane because it's beautiful. And I know that the ensemble will do a gorgeous job of it. Mm. It's one of those things where mature musicians, maybe it's not as technically challenging, but they really bring out every nuance in the piece. And then we've been wanting to play the Pines of Rome for a long time, and Rome's a city, so town and country. And then it just occurred to me that with everything that's going on in the world today, that idea of getting kids to think critically about, in the Middle Ages, would you rather live in the town or the country? They always say they want to live in the city or the town. And then they get talked out of it when they find out about bubonic plague and personal hygiene. Then they want to live in the country, and then they find out about starvation and other issues. So it's to each his own, I guess. Mm-hmm.
The concert certainly starts in the city, specifically in New York, with the 3 dance episodes from On the Town that you're performing. I'd never heard of these pieces. Where did you discover them?
I think we've played them before in the ensemble, but they're also very reminiscent of other sort of musicals from the time. So this was a Broadway show that Bernstein was inspired to write after seeing another similar production. And he was only, I think, about 27 years old when he wrote the music for this. So he was just an up-and-comer.
Mm. Yeah, and you certainly get the hustle and bustle of the city, like with the first movement, The Great Lover, and then the final movement, and there's that beautiful second movement, Lonely Town. It's just a stunner. For you as a conductor, what's been the most fun thing about putting this together with the wind ensemble?
With this particular piece? Well, Bernstein's a big fan of juxtaposing rhythms and hemiola, and that can be pretty confusing when you're first reading it. So just trying to keep everything moving and keep the excitement going has been something that's been really fun to work on. And there's a great trombone solo in the first movement, and then you hear a little bit of New York, New York in the last movement. So, it'll be familiar, and it's idiomatically very Bernstein, so people will be able to relate to the styles.
Yeah, lots of sort of jazzy and syncopated figures as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're also playing music from Bernstein's very good friend, Aaron Copland, a transcription of his piece, Down a Country Lane. This is typical Americana by Copland. I picture, a early morning farm field in the Midwest. Can you talk a little bit about the background behind this piece? It's really interesting.
Well, I had to do a little bit of research because there really wasn't a lot in any program notes that I had seen before. I guess it started out in this form as a piano piece, sort of an accessible piano piece that Copland wrote. But he used material that he had originally written for a documentary, was commissioned, I think, by Life magazine, a documentary about refugees coming to the United States during the war. And in this particular documentary, which is called The Cumberland Story, or the
Cummington Story.
Cummington Story, that's right, The Cummington Story. It sort of deals with the issue of people who live in a small town who have their own ways of doing things and are not necessarily very welcoming to these strangers. I think they're from Czechoslovakia. But, people are people, and they find commonality, and the community comes around to really welcoming them during their stay there. And I think Copeland really saw it as a metaphor for making friends of good neighbors. And how timely is that right now?
Yes, absolutely. The ensemble, you've mentioned it, is playing an absolute showpiece for Wind Ensemble, the band arrangement of Respighi's Pines of Rome. It's so full of amazing colors for orchestra. When it's done by Wind Ensemble, it takes it to a whole other level. I played this piece with Wind Ensemble. It's incredible. What's it been like rehearsing it with the ensemble?
Well, it's actually not an arrangement, it's a transcription. So it's very faithful to the orchestral version. So the clarinets, as you would know, are just violins.
Yeah,
and it's
lots of noodly parts.
It's quite wicked difficult, actually. It's been fun because I think that the Wind Ensemble brings a certain sound that really works for a lot of these movements very, very well. There's a power to that I think is wonderful. But it's also a challenge for some of the more transparent things to really make that work when you've got a room full of wind players. So
some great writing for brass as well. You ever have to get them to tune it down, and especially in the final section?
Maybe, but actually you'd be surprised because, in a wind ensemble, you don't have a huge brass section, 4 horns, 5 trumpets, 3 trombones, 2 euphoniums, 2 tubas. So there aren't a lot of them. So they get to have some fun at the end. They get to really let it rip.
Some great bass bone writing in there. Can people expect to hear a nightingale in Pines of Rome?
Yes, and how that's also a little controversial. So when Respighi wrote this piece 100 years ago, the use of technology was in its infancy in terms of sound effects and things, and he decided that he would introduce this live recording of a nightingale singing in the woods in Italy. Rumor has it that he made the recording himself, but I think that's apocryphal. But it's always been like someone presses play and there's a recording. So we're going in a different direction with that, and we actually are producing the nightingale effects with some percussion instruments. So yes, they sound like birds, they sound like nightingales, but they're little whistles and pipes, and it sounds beautiful.
Nightingales in the church. I want to turn to the guests. You're welcoming to the stage bassoonist Kathrine Huang to perform James Barnes' Concertino for Bassoon. Who is she, and what can you tell us about the concertino?
She's a student at Fort Richmond Collegiate. Very keen, very strong player. She won the audition for the concerto competition. And she's currently studying with the principal bassoon player in the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. And they decided between them that a good piece to do would be the Barnes. And it's a perfect choice because it's about the right length. It's about 10 minutes long, and it's, slow, fast, slow, continuous movements. So it really shows off the bassoon. And it's just a delightful piece of music.
Fantastic. There's also going to be students from John Henderson there. Do you know what they're going to be performing, and who's the band director at John Henderson?
Band director is Laura Zinn. I believe that I do know what they're playing, but I can't remember right at this minute. 3 pieces. Laura used to play in the Wind Ensemble. I don't know if she did when you were there, but she's a wonderful band director. It's quite a large band. I think there are about 80 students, and so it should be a real audience pleaser, I think.
I know I've asked you this before, but I think it bears repeating. Why is it so important for the Winnipeg Wind Ensemble to have these student ensembles play on their concerts?
Well, it's great for the kids to get a chance to hear what a wind ensemble playing at a very high level can actually do. I think it's inspiring for them. We don't have very many orchestra programs in the city. That changed probably about 70 years ago. We used to have orchestra programs, and now almost every school has got a band program, and we're hoping to keep it that way. and increase the programming for that, because it's just so good for kids. And this is just a way of them being able to see, and for their parents too, because their parents come to the concerts, to see sort of what the next step is, what the possibilities are, and what a great genre it is.
Absolutely. I have to say, Viva Canadienne, that is rounding out the concert, is very apropos considering the situation with our neighbors. Did you pick that piece pre-tariffs, post-tariffs, pre-51st state, post-51st state?
Definitely post. It was interesting at our last concert that we played no American music at all. And that was just, when things were starting to heat up. And then it just so happened that we were playing these two big American pieces on this show. And so I really just wanted to balance it out with an iconic Canadian piece. And I remember hearing this by the Van Duys in Quebec City when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and they had the goat there and everything. It was quite an emotional experience. So I just love the piece, and it's very Canadian, very inspirational.
Regiment. It's the regimental march for the Royal 22nd Regiment out of Quebec City. Yeah, fantastic. It's been so great to have you here, Jenny. I'm going to wrap things up by asking, what are you looking forward to most about Sunday?
What am I looking forward to most? I think just reveling in the sounds that we're going to be making in Pines of Rome particularly. We have a harp joining us, also a student at Fort Richmond. We have an organist, so Charmaine Bacon will be playing the organ part with us at the church. So, I mean, the rafters will ring, and it's just going to be a thrilling experience for all of us.
Fantastic. Jenny, this has just been excellent. All the best on Sunday, and thanks so much for taking the time to sit down and chat with me today. It's been great, as always.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate the opportunity.
For our